Family Guy has just gifted us a Christmas special titled Gift of the White Guy, and they've really been hyping this one up, calling it a 25th anniversary Hulu exclusive event. But the last time Family Guy released a Christmas episode, it was pretty much a lump of coal.
Kevin James?
Hi, Peter.
My full thoughts are in my review, but it was just all a bit odd. Kevin James made an appearance but didn't even voice himself, and the whole thing was easily the worst holiday episode that they've ever done. So yeah, I didn't really have high hopes for this one, especially after their last Hulu Halloween special, which was mediocre at best. But still, as a loyal Family Guy fan, like always, I set my doubts aside and gave this one a brand new, fresh slate. So how did it turn out? Well, let's dive in. The special starts off with Stewie writing a letter to Santa asking for the same shirt that Timothée Chalamet wore in this picture. Stewie's obsession with Timothy has become a bit of a recurring gag by this point, because in a previous episode he talked about naming his future child after him.
So if it's a boy, I'm naming him Timothy after Timothée Chalamet, and if it's a girl, I'm naming her Chalamet after Timothée Chalamet.
Brian then walks in to tease Stewie by telling him that there's no point him writing a Christmas list because he's on Santa's naughty list. But Stewie is quick to point out that it's just not true because he hasn't tried to kill his mum in ages.
Letting your mother live, that's nice.
It is funny that Stewie pointed out his lack of recent homicidal tendencies because it reminded me of what I was looking into last year when I made this video. In it I explained how the writers phased out his darker matricidal side in order to help him with his character growth. This is basically because that joke had run its course and it had become very stale. Brian, not letting up though, brings up the time that Stewie lured Chris into a remote cabin and tried to drown him because he used to sleep with Rupert, which is a reference to the season 19 episode The Talented Mr. Stewie. And for a show that barely cares about canon, I like it when they bring up this stuff. Brian then asked Stewie if he received a save the date from Santa, which he didn't.
Oh, this is bad. I need to turn this around before Christmas.
So in order to get on the nice list, Stewie decides to throw away all of his weapons.
Are these guns from Rick and Morty?
Yeah, they had kind of a fire sale over there.
Meanwhile, we also learn that Peter wears diapers and that he has an entire bin dedicated to them.
It would behoove you gentlemen never to mention this again.
Stewie then goes into overdrive trying to be nice to everyone, although he does struggle to squeeze out a compliment for Meg.
Wow, you look like one of your 3 rashes is clearing up nicely.
He even subjects himself to Brian's high-nonsense ramblings for hours on end.
Look around. The world's so damn Orwellian. You're not going anywhere.
But things take a turn when Meg finds one of Stewie's ray guns, and in his scramble to try and grab it, he accidentally vaporizes her.
Brian, if Santa discovers this, there's no way I'll make the nice list.
Who cares about that? Meg's dead.
Meanwhile, at the North Pole, this incident is faxed over into the workshop, but Santa is far too busy getting a massage and sneakily asks for a handy.
Just so stiff carrying this full sack around. You know what I'm saying?
So it turns out that Santa is kind of a dirty perv. Who knew? Anyway, back at the Griffin house, a panicked Stewie is still desperate to stay off the naughty list, so he takes some drastic measures, like dressing up as Meg.
Why are you wearing a dress? Meg never wore a dress.
I haven't changed yet, and it's a caftan, you Philistine.
He also auditions a ton of male actors for the role of Meg, including Kevin Smith. Later that night, guilt finally catches up with Stewie and he writes a final last letter to Santa, and in a moment of conscience, he confesses to vaporizing his sister.
Santa, please! My only wish is for Meg to be returned safely.
Stewie's holiday wish comes true and Meg is discovered hogtied underneath the Christmas tree the very next morning. But not everything's back to normal because her legs are on backwards.
Her legs on backwards?
Yeah, close enough. Rush job. Busy night for Santa.
I found Stewie asking for his sister back really kind of cute, although I just wish we saw them spend a bit more time together in order to warrant his guilt and his feelings for then missing her. I really enjoyed this subplot, so much in fact that I wish it was the main focus of the episode. Instead, Peter's A-plot takes up the vast majority of the runtime, and when I think about Family Guy Christmas episodes, I can't help but compare this one to the Road to the North Pole episode. Not only is it, in my opinion, the best Christmas episode that they've ever done, but it's also one of the best episodes of the entire series. Everything about it felt grand and epic. There's so many great jokes, and the musical number is so awesome. But this new special unfortunately doesn't reach that same level of magic, and maybe that is an unfair comparison, but I couldn't help but feel that Stewie's mission to get off the naughty list could have easily carried the entire episode on its own. Speaking of Family Guy Christmas episodes, would you be interested in seeing me rank all of them? It's a lot of episodes to watch and a lot of time, so I just wanted to gauge a bit of interest before diving into them. Anyway, so let's move on to Peter's plot. We start in his workplace where his boss Preston Lloyd announces that they'll be doing a Christmas white elephant gift exchange. And to make sure that everyone understands this concept, Preston plays a video featuring none other than Jeff Goldblum, or rather a hilariously spot-on impression of him.
Welcome, greetings and salutations. Yes.
This impression was done by actor and comedian Matt Friend, who's known for his uncanny celebrity impersonations. Here he is doing Goldblum in front of the real Jeff Goldblum.
There may be trouble ahead, yes.
And personally, I'd love to see him come back and do more celebrity voice impressions. Now, moving on to Preston, and I think I brought it up before, but I really don't like his character. He's just not a very funny addition to the cast. And to be clear, that's not a knock on Peter Macon, who was hilarious in The Orville, but whereas Borges was well written and full of deadpan humour, Preston is, well, kind of a charisma vacuum. Anyway, back to the plot, and Peter is scrambling to find a last-minute gift inside his closet and manages to find a Christmas tree brooch. He wraps it up and throws it into the mix of presents where it's unwrapped by Preston, who absolutely loves it. But this brooch turns out to be Lois's and is very sentimental to her because her mum gave it to her when she was sick, so Peter has to figure out how to get it back. Later on that night at a work function, Pete discovers that Preston gave the brooch to his mother. And here's where we get a really weird random joke about Preston's mother's name.
I see you've met Widow Lloyd.
Oh, I'm so sorry your dad died.
He didn't. Her first name is Widow.
Was that supposed to be funny? See what I mean about his character? He's just not funny. Anyway, at the party, we also learn that Peter has undergone the severance procedure.
Nah, I had the severance procedure done so I wouldn't recognize any of these losers off the clock.
This is my favourite show at the moment, and I'm so excited for the new season to start. Seriously, go and watch it if you haven't already. So Peter recruits his buddies to break into the nursing home and steal the brooch from Widow. They do this by hiding under a Werther's original van, and yeah, I probably think I'm the only one of few people that is under the age of 60 that actually likes this sweet. So raise your hand if you've got old person taste like me. Anyone? Anyway, their plan works surprisingly well. They sneak in and easily swipe the brooch.
This really was not as hard as you made it out to be.
We then get this gag where Peter tries on some of Widow's glaucoma glasses, and when he takes them off, his eyes look like Barney Rubble's. And is it just me, or does he look a bit better like this? Peter then gifts the brooch back to Lois on Christmas morning.
So your Christmas gift to your wife is something that she already owned.
But in the spirit of giving, Lois decides to give the brooch back to Widow. Which is very sweet, but then things take a dark turn when she pricks the brooch into her skin, causing her to bleed out and eventually die. And yeah, it is a really dark way to close out a Christmas episode, but it got me laughing. So while I didn't really enjoy this plot as much as Stewie's, there were still a few decent jokes here. Last season's Christmas episode was, in my opinion, the worst Family Guy Christmas episode ever, and this one was definitely better. There were several moments that made me laugh out loud, like the Jesus cutaways.
I guess this is my birthday and Christmas present.
But overall, this episode felt unremarkable, but at least quite festive. I honestly don't really know why they hyped this one and the Halloween one so damn much. They've even branded these as anniversary specials, but there really isn't anything particularly special about them. They just feel like regular episodes. Maybe if they were a bit longer, say 45 minutes, then I could see the appeal a bit more, but they're the same length and standard. I just wish these felt a bit more like the South Park Paramount Plus specials, which actually feel like movies. Those specials have a real sense of scale and event to them. And I was hoping for something a bit more like that here. But what did you think of the special? Let me know in the comments below.